Every shift that reshapes how you live starts out looking like a waste of time. In 2003, the one that would rewire human attention looked like a few thousand people typing their diaries onto the internet for strangers to read. It wasn't a hobby, it was the leading edge of a shift that would reorganize how a few billion people spend their attention. At the time, almost nobody saw it. The signal was sitting in plain view, and it just looked weird. Last episode, we read the adoption curve, how to tell a fad from a real trend once something's already climbing. This episode goes earlier, all the way down to the bottom of the curve, before the climb, when change is still small and strange and easy to dismiss. That's where weak signals live. A weak signal is an early, small, easily ignored hint of a change that hasn't fully happened yet. Not a prediction, not a trend. A trend is already visible. It's on the steep part of the curve where the magazine covers are. A weak signal is upstream of all that, back when it's still just a handful of people doing something odd. Weak signals share three properties, and all three are the reason they get missed. They're small, low volume, few people, not much money yet. They're weird. They don't fit the categories you already have, so your brain files them under random, and they're ambiguous. You genuinely cannot tell in the moment whether this one matters or not. Take Bitcoin in 2009. To a cryptographer, it was an elegant fix for a narrow technical problem: how to stop digital money from being spent twice. To everyone else, it was play money for nerds on a mailing list. It did not arrive labeled the future of finance. It arrived looking like a toy. That's what every weak signal looks like in the moment. A toy, a curiosity, a thing for weird people. And that's the hard part, the ambiguity. If a signal were obviously important, it wouldn't be weak. It'd already be a trend, and you'd already be late. The price of catching change early is that you have to take it seriously while it still looks like nothing. Weak signals never arrive labeled. The whole skill is learning to notice them before they are. Here's the uncomfortable part. At the bottom of the curve, a real signal and pure random noise look exactly the same. Most of the weird things you'll notice will turn out to be nothing, a one-off, a fluke. People who are new to this get discouraged by that because they think the goal is to be right about each signal. It isn't. The goal is to collect them. One weird thing in one place is noise, but the same weird thing showing up in three unrelated places, a Fringe forum, a patent filing, a conversation with your niece, that's not noise anymore. That's a pattern starting to form. You can't see the pattern from any single signal. You can only see it across a collection you've been keeping. This is also why hindsight lies to you. After social media took over, it became obvious that blogging and Friendster were the signals. Anyone can draw the line backward. In the moment, those signals were sitting in a sea of other weird internet things that went nowhere. Virtual pets, chain emails, 100 dead startups. The trick isn't spotting the signal once you know the answer. It's keeping a wide enough net and a humble enough mind that you're still collecting before the answer exists. So where do you actually look? Start with where you shouldn't, the headlines. By the time something reaches the front page, it's on the steep part of the curve. It's news, which means you're late. The signal you want is out at the quiet margins in a few specific places that most people never think to check. The richest of them is fringe communities, the people doing the weird thing for love, not money, years before it's profitable. Hobbyists, obsessives, subcultures, they're the early adopters from last episode, and they're almost always first. Whatever your kids or your strangest coworker are deep into right now is a sample of the future, leaking backward into the present. Then there's the paper trail companies leave when they bet money on the future, and the niche press that reads it for you. When a tech giant quietly patents a strange new hinge, they won't hold a press conference. But some manufacturing journal with 300 subscribers will write 1,000 careful words on what it means. You don't have to read the patents yourself. You just have to know that the people who do are publishing, in plain sight, in places with tiny readerships. Here's all of that working at once. Coffee, the example this series keeps circling back to. Years before a price shock reaches your grocery bill, the signal is sitting in agricultural trade press and plant science reports, a fungus spreading through a growing region, a harvest coming in strange, a farm quietly switching crops. When coffee leaf rust tore through Central America, the people reading the right obscure reports weren't surprised. The headlines were the last to know. Now the practical part. You don't need a methodology to start noticing signals. You already have the detector. It's the involuntary reaction you have a dozen times a week and then immediately forget, that's weird. That little flicker is your pattern recognition flagging an anomaly, something that doesn't fit the model of the world you carry around. Most of the time you smooth it over and move on. The entire practice of scanning is just this. When you feel, that's weird, write it down before you explain it away, because the explaining away is the enemy. Your brain hates anomalies and rushes to file them. That's just a fad. That's just weird people on the internet. That could never go mainstream. Every one of those phrases is the sound of a signal being deleted. Capture first, judge later. The note costs you 10 seconds. The missed signal can cost you years. So lower the bar all the way. You're not deciding whether something is important. You're just keeping a list of things that made you blink. Date them. Most will be nothing. A few will be the early edge of something large. Let's go back to where we started and look at what was actually visible. Before 2005, before social media was even a phrase, the signals were everywhere for anyone keeping a list. A site called 6 Degrees had let people build friend networks back in 1997. Friendster launched in 2002 and grew fast. Blogging was spreading. Each one on its own looked like a niche internet curiosity. But notice what they had in common. Ordinary people were choosing to put their real names, their real faces, and the details of their daily lives online, at a time when the entire internet was supposed to be anonymous. That was the weird part. That was the anomaly. People were doing the opposite of what everyone assumed they wanted. Put those signals next to each other and a question almost asks itself, what if this keeps going? What if millions of people want to perform their lives for an audience? You didn't need to predict Facebook by name. You just needed to be collecting the signals and willing to ask the obvious next question out loud. The signals were never hidden. What was rare was someone keeping the list and taking the weird things seriously before it was safe to. Your task this week is small on purpose. Find 3, that's weird moments and write them down. One from outside your own field entirely. One from a fringe community, somewhere people are obsessed with something you don't understand. And one from a trade publication in an industry that isn't yours. Don't analyze them. Don't decide if they matter. Just capture the weird thing and the date, the way you did with the trend test last week. And here's the part that makes this better as a group. Put one of them in the comments, the strangest thing you noticed this week. Reading everyone else's is its own kind of scan. You'll see signals from fields you'd never check on your own. Next episode solves a problem you'll hit fast. Once you're collecting signals, you'll notice you keep looking at the same corner of the world and missing the rest. There's a simple framework that forces you to see the whole board. It's called STEEP. 3 takeaways. First, weak signals are small, weird, and ambiguous by definition. If a change looks obvious and important, it's not a weak signal anymore. It's a trend, and you're already late to it. Second, most signals are noise, and that's fine. You're not trying to be right about each one. You're keeping a collection so that when several point the same direction, you're the one who notices. Third, your best detector is already running. When something makes you think, that's weird, write it down before you explain it away. Capture first, judge later.